All right. Oh. So 12 basic functions. The first one was identity. That's a straight line like y equals x. So it's like a linear function. So y equals mx plus b will be part of this function. Squaring function is y equals x squared, makes a parabola. If it's negative x squared, the parabola will be going like that. That's negative x squared. Cubing looks like that. Negative will look like that. Okay. Reciprocal function, a reciprocal function is like 1 over x. Looks like that. Square root function, 1, 1, 4, 2, 9, 3 would be a point, and so on. Exponential function, f of x equals e to the x. Natural logarithmic function is an inverse of the exponential function. Okay, they're inverse functions of each other. So if f of x equals the ln of x, the inverse of it is e to the x. Okay, they are inverse functions of each other, and we'll talk about inverses later in the school year. Sine looks like that. For those of you who didn't take trig, it'll be all right. We'll work our way through there. Cosine looks like that. Absolute value always forms a V. Greatest integer is a stair step and logistic function. All right, so discard. Let's look at what your homework will look like over that. All right, this function, out of those 12 functions, what starts at the bottom and ends up at the top? What function of the 12 is that, do you think? Cubic. That looks like a cubic function. So which of these is cubic? Well, choice E is cubic. And it says, well, it's like that, but they did something to it. Well, they moved it up 8 spaces. Okay, the plus 8 moves things up 8 spaces, cubic function. There you go. Which function do you see that's a straight line? It's a identity, which is like a linear function. Which of these is the linear function here? A, B, C. Oh, it's not even on here. D, F disappeared. It's one somewhere. It's D, E, or F. Wait. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, D. D is gone. H is gone. That's really weird. But it's one of them that are gone. That disappeared. Why that disappeared, I do not know. Okay. All right. Let's look at this one. Which one does that look like?
Cubic.
It looks like a cubic. Looks like a cubic. Here's a cubic, and here's a cubic. Which of those two cubics do you think it is? Now, a normal cubic goes through 0, 0. This one is pushed to the left. Which is pushing to the left? A or G? A is pushing to the left by 2. Okay, you learned that in Algebra 2. Wow. Wow. Weird. Weird, weird, weird. I don't get it. There's H, and there's D, but we're missing a whole bunch of other ones on this one. I don't understand, but whatever. All right. Which of these has a domain that excludes 0? That doesn't have a 0 in it. Okay. Can you have e to the 0?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's 1. Can you have 1 over 0? Nope. The sign of 0 works. E to the negative 0 is 1. 1 plus 1 is 2. So this one would work. This one would work. This one would work. This one would work. Can you take the square root of 0? Yeah, square root of 0 is 0. So the only one that has a domain that excludes 0 on this one has to be 1 over x. Okay. It says use a graphing calculator to produce a function. So you graph it. 2x squared plus 3. Should look like a what if it's x squared? A squaring function, but a parabola. It's a parabola. Now, a normal parabola goes through 0, 0, 1, 1, 2, 4, and so on. If you put a 2 in front, it makes it twice as skinny. It makes it go up faster. If you put a 3 plus 3 on the end, it affects the y. Goes up by 3. Twice as skinny affects the y. Choice C. Okay. What's the domain of the function? Is there anything that would restrict the domain here? Are we taking the square root of a negative or dividing by 0? No, we aren't restricting the domain. So it would be negative infinity to infinity for this one. Okay. The range of the function. What's the lowest number graphed here? 3. So 3 is graphed, and then we go up to infinity because it's going up on each side. It'll never go below 3. Okay, so that is the range. Domain's the x values used. The range is the y values used. The ln of x plus 5. Now, the ln of x is a function that looks like that. So it's one of these two functions. Okay, x plus 5. When it happens in parentheses, it affects the x, and it goes the opposite way of what you think. When you see a plus 5, you think it'll move to the right 5, but it actually moves to the left by 5. So it's choice B. Okay, it is choice B. Moves left by 5. So what's the domain of the function? Well, what's the furthest point it gets really, really close to but never quite touches? Negative 5. So if it gets really, really close and never touches it, it's negative 5, and we keep going till infinity. What's the range of the function? Well, as we keep going over, it'll keep going up. Now, it'll go up very, 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 very slowly, but it's going to keep going up. So it's going to go from negative infinity, because it goes down forever that way, and up to infinity. Okay, this is the greatest integer function. The graphing calculator will graph it. You have to find the greatest integer function on your calculator, and it will graph it. Now, 4x over 5 is 4/5 of what it was, or 4/5, or it's actually 5/4. It's 1.25 higher than it actually was. Okay, because if we put in a 1, no, integer at 4/5, integer at 2. All right, well, here, let me just graph it quick. I'll show you how the greatest integer function works on the graphing calculator. There we are on second quit. Y equals clear. All right, so the greatest integer function is math. Whoa. I don't know if FNN. It could be FNN. No. Y equals clear. There it is, number 5. Math, integer, and then you guys are good at putting in fractions. My fractions don't work so good. So I'll go parentheses 4x parentheses divided by 5 parentheses. The greatest integer function. So if we graph it, it goes like this. Okay. If we trace it, it's right on the line here. And then if I go over to 1, boom. Or actually it's 1.25 that it jumps up. So it looks like B. Okay. So the domain, can you put any number in there? Any number from the, does it go everywhere from the left to the right here? Yeah. So it's negative infinity to infinity. But since they're stair steps, they're individual numbers, not the interval notation way. Whoops. Undo. So it actually looks like this. Okay. So that's the greatest integer function. All right. So you'll have some problems like that. Then the absolute value of x plus 2. The plus 2, since it's on the outside of the absolute value, does what? Moves it left and right or up and down? Moves it up by 2. Okay? And the absolute value of x is a v going up, so choice B. Okay, where does it increase? Where does this v increase from? 0, because you look at the x values for increasing, decreasing, and to infinity. Where does it decrease? Negative infinity to 0. And I'm going to run down and check and see if my answers are right. Yeah, you need a bracket on there. Okay. Oh, I wrote the answer in the wrong place. So it's increasing from, or it's increasing from 0 to infinity and decreasing from negative infinity up to 0. Okay. Is it odd, even, or neither? Is it a mirror image across the y-axis? Yes. So it would be an even function. Okay. If you flip over the y and the x, it would be an odd function. If it doesn't do either, then it's neither. The extrema, does it have a minimum or a maximum? Yeah, it has a minimum. Okay. It does have a minimum. What is the minimum value? 2. So the function has a minimum value of 2. And then the function is, how does it translate? Well, it translates up by 2 from the original. Up by 2. So you have questions like that on your assignment. Asymptotes, horizontal asymptotes. You just look at the graph and figure out where they are. So if we go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, it looks like it has a 6 and a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, negative 6. Okay. All right. So I'll let you get started on that. We'll talk about 1.3b a little later after lunch. And there we go. We are second bell today. Sorry for the downer, but we're second bell.